I think the phrase about the serpent crawling on his belly, I think, is really misunderstood. Um, it is not about serpents losing their legs. It takes place in the same time frame that everything else, every other prophecy in this passage takes place in. The seed of the woman will crush the head of the serpent. The serpent will crawl in his belly in the same time frame that the seed of the woman crushes the head of the serpent. You can even see how those two are connected, right? You put your foot on the head of this creature, it means it's placed flat on the ground. Serpent will eat dust. It eats dirt because it's being placed underground. It has nothing else to eat. Related to that, dust is what the dead are transformed into. Think about, take a body, split it up again and again and again and again. What do you get at the end? You get dust. Serpent eats dust. That is why the damned inherit the same thing which the devil and his angels inherit. The damned are joined to the devil and his angels because their will is given over to the will of the enemy. Thus, the serpent is described as a roaring lion going and seeking whom he may devour. In Isaiah 14, we see the king of Babylon, the serpent, described as sent down, cursed in the same place that the Nephilim are cursed. It talks about the Rephaim, which are a kind of Nephilim. You know that the Nephilim, the Rephaim, these are giants. These are demonic beings. Why is he identified as the king of Babylon? Well, Babylon, Babel, same city. Babel is the city of man. Babel is the city of violence. It's the archetypal embodiment of all that is evil as it reaches its maturity. Okay, the sin of Adam and Eve, that's a sin of childishness. You know, they're still saved, right? But there's a difference between childish, 12-year-old boyish lust and full-grown lust, which grows into romantic murder. I mean, that's where that road ends. Likewise, there's a difference between kind of the childish sin of Adam and Eve and the full-grown evil of the world immediately prior to the flood. Babel or Babylon, the city of man, sums up evil in its fully grown state. And the serpent's kingship over that is analogous to the servant's kingship over Zion. So in the chiastic structure of Isaiah, so a chiasm, if you're not familiar, is the structure 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, where 1 corresponds to 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3, and then 4 is the center. Okay, so Isaiah is structured in this way, and Peggy, go to bed. Isaiah is structured in this way, and Isaiah 14 corresponds to Isaiah 53. Corresponds to Isaiah 53 in its literary design, and also in the specific words that are used. Let's take a look here of what's said. Isaiah 14, we have what is said about the king of Babylon. Your pomp is brought down to Sheol, the grave. How you are fallen from heaven, day star, son of the dawn. Remember that Nachash, or serpent, as a noun it means serpent, just as the word seraph as a noun means serpent. Well, as an adjective, translated substantively, it means bright, which is why he's called day star, son of the dawn. Just as seraph as an adjective means burning, which is why that is the way they are described in Isaiah 6 and elsewhere. I had a headache. I have a feeling that there's a diabolical plot to get me to freak out on camera. I'm really annoyed. All right. Okay. You said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven above the stars of God. I will set my throne on high. I will sit on the mount of assembly in the far reaches of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. But you are brought down to the grave, to the far reaches of the pit. So you see the king of Babylon exalts himself. He attempts to lift himself up. But what happens? He is brought down. In Isaiah 53, this narrative arc is entirely reversed. In Isaiah 53, is beginning at 52:13. Behold, my servant shall act wisely. He shall be high and lifted up, and shall be exalted. And how is he exalted? He's exalted by freely embracing death, by freely embracing that which the king of Babylon sought to escape from. He made his grave with the wicked, rich man in his death, though he had done no violence, there was no deceit in his mouth. It was the will of the Lord to crush him. He has put him to grief. When his soul makes an offering for sin, he shall see his seed. He shall prolong his days. The will of the Lord will prosper in his hand. In other words, just as the king of Babylon sought to exalt himself above the stars, but was instead brought down to the grave, so the king of Zion, the servant of the Lord, he humbles himself and embraces the grave, and he is exalted above all things. And it says he is high and lifted up. And high and lifted up is a phrase, as I've mentioned many times before, used 3 times in Isaiah. First time is Isaiah 6. The God of Israel is enthroned, and the train of his robe fills the temple. Last time is, I think it's Isaiah 64? Somewhere in Isaiah 60, in the 60s, where God is high and lifted up, and yet also dwells with those who are contrite and lowly in heart. And what do you know? Contrite and lowly in heart is a quotation from Psalm 51 and Psalm 50 in the Septuagint. Have mercy on me, O God, according to the great mercy. And the unifying principle here is Isaiah 52 to 53, because Isaiah 52 to 53, the servant of the Lord is the God of Israel. That is why he is high and lifted up. The servant of the Lord humbles himself down to the grave, such that if one humbles oneself down to the grave by repentance, one is joined with him, one has one's sins atoned for, and one is elevated with him above all things. So that in Isaiah 54, it is not a singular servant, but the plural servants. So the story of Isaiah 40 to 55 is that of the corporate servant of the Lord, whose destiny falls upon King Messiah, who accomplishes Israel's purpose and thus brings the Gentiles into that very same family. So in Isaiah 54, the boundaries of the land have to be expanded. The stakes have to be pulled up. so that they can be placed in farther distance from each other. The servants are in the plural. And then Isaiah 55. Isaiah 55 describes the Davidic covenant, the covenant with David, as being fulfilled in the whole nation. Now, what that tells you is that this has to be messianic. It has to be messianic because the Messiah is the one who fulfills the destiny of David's family and David's seed. So when we see the destiny in David's family and David's seed being ratified in the whole nation, we're being shown that the whole nation has been adopted and married into the family of David.